we have been invited to a state leaders conference on the 14th of this next month, which involves only the coordinators and the state executive. Our state executive is also a president, a vice president, and a secretary. That's all the 3 positions you get. Anyone else will be only a member. So this is the kind of activities. And after this chapter leaders conference on the 14th, next month will be all the chapter executives. This is the state leaders, not the chapter leaders. First is the state leaders executive all across the country. And next month comes the chapter leaders of all the states across the country, whereby they have to make a presentation of what are the activities they have done. So it is a matter of the activities. We meet and discuss issues, and what issues have we discussed? A report has to be formed. Every quarterly there is a reporting that comes to me from all across the states that I'm in charge of, and then we send it across to Mr. Shashi Tharoor, who in turn, if he finds any very important issues, will inform Mr. Rahul Gandhi about it. And I was told the other day, I've just come back from Delhi, how Rahul Gandhi rings up the COO and talks about certain chapters which are doing something or which are not doing something. That is the kind of involvement Rahul Gandhi has. I hope our chapter presidents and chapter members take note of this. Apart from all that, let me come to the topic of today. I am really honored to be here among such eminent speakers who are going to talk about different issues that are very important to us. And I compliment and congratulate Mr. Irfan and his team for having done this wonderful job of having to bring along so many speakers who represent what the UNDP Sustainable Development Goals is all about. This is the need of the hour. There have been 17 topics chosen by the UNDP when they discussed in 2012, and then it came into effect only in 2016. Out of the 17, I think India has had some 7 or so they have activated, and they have reported about it. And I totally agree, because even before the UNDP conference took place, UN conference took place in Rio, much before that, the UPA government is already talking about economic growth for the poor, for the weaker sections. In that equality, they decided to get the NGNRA. We all know what that is all about. The National Rural Employment Generation Act. They got an act by which all the poor people could get employment for about 100 days in a year, so that they also are economically growing.
As I said earlier, like what the Liberal Party in Canada said, if we say Congress will be committed to implement sustainable development goals in a more effective manner, talk of many things about it. As a political party, we need to win. And I don't think we can really win by only talking about it. We need to reach out to people like you, intellectuals like you, people who understand, young people who are concerned about the future of this country. If we can reach out to them, that 1%, 2% of people who normally may not vote, and yet, if we can motivate them, if we can somehow reach out to them, I think this is the challenge that the All India Professional Congress can take up. It is possible and it is doable. And this age of social media and internet, things like this should be workable, and I'm sure that if these are taken to the notice of the Honorable Congress President, there can be a focus on this. I'll finally conclude by recalling a felicitation program that the faculty and students of Tirupati University had organized for me 25 years back. The professor from the history department was trying to, he was talking and he was mincing words. He was not willing to say politics is the last resort of scoundrels.
And having seen what I have seen and given a chance, I feel it as my responsibility to say something. If not me, who? If not now, when? Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, gender equality is not a woman's issue. It's a human's issue, and it affects us all. For me, equality means a wife equal to her husband, a sister to her brother. I am one of those luckiest persons. My life is a sheer privilege because my parents didn't love me less because I'm born a daughter. My school didn't limit me because I'm a girl. My college didn't suppress me because I'm a girl. My mentors didn't assume that I would go less far because I might give birth to a child one day.
Understand the policy and the right concept behind those things. But how to percolate all these things, concepts, into the minds of the people? Unless you outreach these concepts into the minds of the people, I think we are not very much successful in all our attempts. I would like to share my experience. I was in the forest service, forest and wildlife service, mostly in a wildlife service, what you see in National Geographic Discovery Channel. Similar kind of work I've been doing for the last 45 years. I was working with not only with the human beings, even with the animals. I was studying the behavior of the animals, understanding their own problems very closely. So they have given me a lot of insight into the problems as to how one should look into these problems and give the solutions. I was also working in the India's largest tiger project in Nalamalais, that is Nagarjuna Sagar Tiger Reserve, before the bifurcation of the states. In all the 3 regions I was working.
A need for resource mobilization, and there is a need for effective resource allocation also. Now, if you look at the goal 8 in SDG, which talks about promote sustained, inclusive and sustainable economic growth and productive employment and decent work for all. And if you look at some of those objectives which have been fixed, I will not talk about all, I will just one or two. Say, encourage the formalization and growth of micro, small and medium-sized enterprises, including through access to financial services. So the goal is that more of the informal, ad hoc kind of employment and industry should move towards formalization. And this is something which is extremely important, that when we are looking at jobs, we are not merely looking at number of jobs.
The main theme of the Sustainable Development Goal is leaving no one behind. Please understand, whoever the speaker is speaking on the stage and whoever listening this conversation and all, the main theme of the Sustainable Development Goal is leaving no one behind. So that inclusiveness will come. So let us come to the point which I am going to talk about, the green buildings. Especially, green buildings are not green in color. So they are sustainable buildings with the resilient communities, because the building is built for humanity to be living, So next slide please. So let us go in deep. The goal number 11 will talk about the sustainable cities and communities. Actually, a word missing there is called resilient communities. Resiliency in the sense when there is a natural destruction or disruption happening because of the natural calamities, we must be in a position, because you cannot stop the natural calamity to happen. So you must be in a position to stand erect back from the disasters. So that is what the resilience community, the resilience cities means. So next slide.
This aspect of the presentation, or my part of this presentation, essentially will be covering number 3, 4, 5, and 16 of the SDG we are talking about since we started here. So one thing that we do know is nations around the world have been painfully confronted, and as we have ourselves in India, with the fact that some of our citizens are receptive to extremist propaganda and manipulation. When I speak of extremist propaganda and manipulation and de-radicalization in specific, I'm speaking of that which is of the religio-political variety. So this threat of radicalization or religio-political radicalization to society overall is not unique to any particular country, as we know, nor to any ethnicity, nor faith group, nor region. But rather it is a global threat, as we can now see, which continuously needs to be addressed by governments and the international community in new and innovative ways. So we have to ask ourselves essentially what causes or what drives religio-political radicalization, which is essentially creating a narrative within these countries where it becomes rampant that is the complete opposite of the vision of most of the countries in the world, and particularly our own country. It opposes inclusiveness. So what essentially drives it? And believe it or not, after working in the industry for preventing radicalization with the Canadian government since 2006, actually. In 2010, I was asked to testify before the Senate Committee on Anti-Terrorism in Canada. Most of the work I've done essentially became policy. I was working with the current Prime Minister Trudeau before he re-entered politics, or before he was in politics. In fact, at Canada 2020, in 2006 actually, way back with Al Gore.
The entire exercise, I am not touching upon those issues which were already addressed by my earlier speakers on inclusive growth, SDGs importance, mainstreaming in the political agenda. I am looking at three things. One is, what is all about this SDGs? What this to do with political thing? And how I am as an individual common man connected to SDGs? You see, a lot of UN declarations, the first declarations after our independence, the first planning commission, it came out with soil conservation and food security. We had a department called Soil Conservation Department. When a farmer is not connected with the food security, when the farmer does not understand and realize the importance of soil erosion, it may be a big agenda for UN. It may be a big agenda for national, but it's not an agenda for my survival. This is most important. How do we demystify SDGs so that a common man understands it? Okay? Everybody talks, what is there for me? So as a common man, I do have a right to ask, what is there for me in the SDGs? And we do change, and we have evolved. Last 60 years, the political systems evolved, people evolved, and everything. But one thing important to know is, कल आज और कल में क्या फर्क है? गुजरा हुआ कल में हम क्या किए थे? आज हम किस मकाम पे हैं और हम कहाँ जाना चाहते हैं? This, unfortunately, Congress party, including all other parties, they forget about it. And I congratulate once again the APIC for this initiative. Today is the period of convergence. Today is the period of synergy. You cannot do it isolated. आप कोई दारा सिंह नहीं है और कोई पहलवान नहीं है, आप हर चीज जीत देंगे. We need a teamwork. We need cooperation. We need to identify like-minded people in the society. And this convergence and synergy, Congress did wonderful works on IRDP, Integrated Rural Development Programs. Why are you not reviewing it? It was a wonderful program, IRDP. And then look at the programs which you brought, and the success of Silent Valley by Indira Gandhi speaks volumes about the conservation. You need to look into all these aspects of it, and the Wildlife Act, which was introduced in the country prior to the...
Actually, time is a big constraint. This is almost a 40-minute presentation, but now we have to constrict it to 10 minutes. So I don't think I'll be referring to the PowerPoint presentation much. మొట్టమొదట మనం ఈరోజు మాట్లాడుకుంటుంది మేనిఫెస్టోలో, కాంగ్రెస్ మేనిఫెస్టోలో సస్టైనబుల్ డెవలప్మెంట్ గోల్స్, సుస్థిర అభివృద్ధి లక్ష్యాలు ఉండాలా వద్దా? ఉండాలి అని మేము అడుగుతున్నాం. అయితే మేనిఫెస్టో ఏంది? అదొక పేపర్ ముక్క. వాట్ ఈస్ ద మేనిఫెస్టో ఇన్ ఇండియన్ పాలిటిక్స్? ఓన్లీ రీసెంట్లీ దానికి కొంత విలువ వచ్చింది. ఈ మధ్య మేనిఫెస్టోలో మేము చేసినాము, మేనిఫెస్టోలో పెట్టినాము, మేనిఫెస్టో ప్రకారం మేము చేస్తున్నామని రాజకీయ నాయకులు ప్రకటనలు ఇస్తూనే ఉన్నారు. అంటే ఈ మధ్య మేనిఫెస్టోకి కొంత విలువ వచ్చింది, కానీ ఇదివరకు అంత లేదు. For long we have been asking, I think many civil society members have been asking that we have to fix liability of the ruling party on the manifesto they declared. అంటే ఆ ప్రామిసెస్, మీరు ఇచ్చిన హామీలు, వాటి అమలు గురించి వాళ్ళని అడగాలి. దానికి ఒక చట్టం ఉండాలి, లేదా ఒక కాన్స్టిట్యూషనల్ ప్రాసెస్ ఉండాలని ఎప్పటి నుంచో అడుగుతున్నారు. సరే, అదొక చర్చనీయాంశమే. సో ఇప్పుడు మేనిఫెస్టోలో సస్టైనబుల్ డెవలప్మెంట్ గోల్స్ ఉండడం వల్ల ఏమన్నా వస్తుందా రాదా అనేది ఐ థింక్ దాట్స్ అ మేజర్ ఇష్యూ విచ్ వీ నీడ్ టు డిస్కస్. ఐ డోంట్ హ్యావ్ టైమ్ టు ఎలాబరేట్ ఆన్ దాట్. కానీ కొంత శశిధర్ రెడ్డి గారు చెప్పారు, ఒకప్పుడు మేము 1994లో గ్రీన్ మేనిఫెస్టో అని అప్పుడు తయారు చేసి, అప్పుడు రాజకీయ పార్టీలు వాళ్ళ మేనిఫెస్టోలో పెట్టే ప్రయత్నం అప్పుడు చేసినాం. అప్పటి నుంచి చేస్తూ వస్తున్నాం. ప్రతి ఎలక్షన్లో, ఎవ్రీ ఎలక్షన్ we try to bring that green manifesto. గ్రీన్ అంటే అప్పటికి ఈ సస్టైనబుల్ డెవలప్మెంట్ గోల్స్కి కొంత తేడా ఏంటంటే, డిఫరెన్స్ ఏంటంటే, అది అప్పుడు పర్యావరణం గురించి మనం అడుగుతున్నాం. పర్యావరణ అంశాలు అందులో రావాలని ఆనాడు కోరింది.
At the upfront, I wanted to thank all the galaxy of the speakers who have spoken and shared their ideas on the Sustainable Development Goals. Humbly thank on behalf of the All India Professional Congress. I just want to share one or two things and then close it off, wrap it off. One, I think as someone pointed out, that manifesto has become a very important electoral tool. I think it has begun only in 2014. It has been campaigned so well. Modi and KCR both have sold that concept called manifesto so well. Even earlier also parties have come out, but never there was not so much of importance. That's because they campaigned, or maybe because of the social media and a lot of media explosion. But people started now so closely monitoring and understanding what are you going to offer after you come to power. So that is the reason I think today conceiving a wonderful, effective manifesto becomes the fundamental responsibility of any political outfit, and Congress Party assumes that responsibility wholeheartedly. Second thing I wanted to suggest is, the moment you call manifesto, the manifesto term somehow it looks to me like the job is to allure the voters. After that, nobody bothers whether that manifesto is implemented or not. Even if somebody bothers, there is no one to even answer you. That's what is happening in both Modi's regime and as well as in KCR's regime. 15 लाख का जो ब्लैक मनी लाते बोले, अभी तक तो एक पैसा भी वापस नहीं आया. And KG to PG एजुकेशन इम्प्लीमेंट करते बोल के हुकूमत में आया, इन्हें भी इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं कर रहा है. Likewise double bedroom or 3 bedroom scheme, 3 acre land, like that, so many things. So people make so many promises, but they don't really implement, and that manifesto has become a sheer tool of alluring the voters and maneuvering them to get the votes.
The next program will be giving the momentous to all the speakers and the chief guest.